Yo, welcome to Trip Off This, a podcast where we talk about wild things for you to trip off. That's music, politics, games, tech, honestly, whatever we feel necessary in today's culture. The face you're seeing, the voice you're hearing is mine, none other than Tevin. The face you're seeing and the voice you're hearing is none other than the Elon Musk of Wareham, for all that it's worth. Josiah?
Yeah.
And we have a very special guest today. This is the second time we've done this. We've grabbed somebody from WCTV that we really appreciate from typically behind the camera and had them on as our special guest, and that is our boy John.
Yo, what's up?
Yo. Speaking, the first thing I want to get into today is something ridiculous that I feel like happened over the past time we recorded an episode, and that's the Met Gala.
Dude, that's...
I hate the Met Gala. I hate the Met Gala. Michaela's behind the camera right now.
Mad.
She is mad at me for this.
I love the Met Gala.
All right. I have a few major gripes with the Met Gala, right? And, like, the first one is obviously, like, who cares about celebrities having a posh party? That's the first thing, right? But I understand people's investment in these characters and personalities that they feel like they...
But they don't know them. They have no idea who they're like.
Their brand.
Yeah, they know the brand. And that's the thing, that's the point, though. What aggravates me about the Met Gala is the showcasing of the brands. Is the eccentricity. Maybe I'm just too poor to understand it. Like, that's very possible. Like, maybe if I could afford, like, a $17,000 suit that had a flat screen coming off of it with a UFC fight airing behind me and a 15-foot long tail going off the back, like, maybe I'd be like, damn, Met Gala swag, I can't, that's my favorite time every year, but I'm just way too poor to be able to afford that or construct that, so I just think Met Gala's trash.
So wait, is the Met Gala like the auto show of the actors world?
The Met
That's
Gala...
interesting. They show off all the future cars that'll never actually come out.
Yeah, exactly. They're showing you, like, the concepts.
But they're all the cars that you will never be able to have yourself.
I like that. I like that analogy.
Podcast.
It really is. It's like like you said, it's the auto show where we're showing off concepts where, like, designs could be, like, 20 years in the future.
Yeah.
But you cannot get your hands on it right now.
No.
Like, and, like, I don't know. Every year just gets more and more ridiculous. And, like, what I also wonder is, like, there is a theme every year, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
What was the theme
What was
for
the
this year?
theme this year?
Camp.
It was camp.
Camp?
No?
What does that mean?
Camp.
I don't know exactly
camp-
what it
Camp
means, but
is
it's
like campy?
It's taking something and exaggerating
Okay,
it
so like-
it looks ridiculous, but it's also
That's
a
always
creative
the theme.
expression.
That's a cop out.
Yeah, exactly.
That-
That is a cop out.
Well, the
of
thing
the
is, it's like
a
a
great
couple-
theme because it speaks to the transgender community.
Okay.
So a lot of people were getting upset this year because they really didn't invite a lot of people that identified as transgender.
Okay. That makes sense.
Wait,
Like the fact that it's
but how?
who runs it? Who's in
What did you
charge
say?
of the
You
invites?
said that it's. Wait, what? Camp, but you said
Yeah.
that's inclusive of the
The
camp.
transgender community
Because it's camp
it's
in
an
particular.
exaggeration of something of style of
Okay.
expression.
Of self-expression,
So-
I get it.
And you were
Yeah.
saying that people have been mad at them in the past for not, or did they not this year?
No, they did
Oh,
camp
this
this
year,
year.
the invites.
Yeah, the invites this year.
Yeah, they didn't invite people from that background or that identify as transgender. It was a very small
Okay.
community that was involved, so they got upset with that. That was more of the public.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just-
But
I don't. Who's met? Who's
Metropolitan Museum of
something of
Yeah.
fine arts or something? Gala.
yeah,
Okay.
so
It's
it's
just-
held at the Met Museum.
Okay.
And they raise awareness for archiving pieces, or it raised awareness for the arts and finding things in history
Okay.
in art and furthering art education.
That-
We're gonna have to
Okay.
like put out like a picture of Michaela when she's speaking because
No.
there isn't a camera on you at all.
Yeah.
Now knowing that, me just saying who's met is 1,000 times dumber.
Yeah.
But like to your point though, there is somebody that is in charge of the invites, and like you said, if it's invite only.
Right, so
Yeah, it
it's,
is an invite only event.
it is ran
Like, by the
head,
museum?
it would be Anna Wintour,
Oh yeah. You're right.
but they have a committee of people who will invite them.
Mm-hmm.
Who invite the celebrities. It's not just celebrities, it's also people who are influencers,
And,
maybe
like,
YouTubers.
I'm sure it is a charity event.
It is.
Right,
So they donate a lot of money.
Right. I'm sure.
Yeah.
In the end.
So it is
art
good that they
preservation.
do that kind of thing. But yeah, with the camp style that they were doing, it was kind of insane with some of this stuff. They had, I don't know who it was, but they had one guy who was dressed up like, you ever seen 300 with like the Persian?
The guy who got
Persian
carried in?
king? Yeah, the guy that carried
Yeah.
in.
Oh,
Yeah.
Billy Porter?
Yeah.
Billy
Who is he?
Porter.
What does he do? Do you know?
Billy Porter, he's a lot. He does a lot. I think he's an actor.
We have Google.
He's
Yeah,
a
that's true. That's true.
Google.
I have no idea.
personality. He does a lot of different
Yeah.
things.
But he got
he's really
carried
relevant.
in. There was one that did the split down the middle where it was full female, full male
Okay.
on both sides, and then they had a lot of ones that did like they think they were doing camp,
Hmm.
but they were underdoing something that's supposed to be way over exaggerated, so it
Yeah.
wasn't really truly what it was.
It's just
Yeah.
like extremely wealthy people's Halloween. like
Yeah.
spring Halloween to a
Kinda,
certain extent.
yeah.
It's sort of
Expensive
like that.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like,
But it also speaks to keeping historical pieces alive and
Oh, yeah.
giving people who are in the arts communities jobs and making sure that they're respected for their work, because
definitely. That's
putting
important.
on those pieces is an art form on its own. Giving people who
True.
are designers.
when
like
you
a
have to
spotlight.
be dressed by like 6 different people.
Yeah, no, it definitely is an art in that way, and it makes me think of like some crazy stuff we'd read about the Romans doing or something, and
Yeah,
being
no,
like,
it's
oh wow,
pretty
those
much that.
those Romans
Yeah.
would do.
Those
Oh,
are Romans.
It's just like I think that it's an interesting it'd be like an interesting thing to read in like a book.
Right.
You know, like about it just seems like an alien thing, like
Kind
But when it
of.
comes to life, you're like,
but it's really
but they're starving people. Like,
yeah. The part of me that likes it the least is the socialist in me.
Yeah, and exactly. When I'm just saying like Mecca,
I think
trash.
if there wasn't so many it's in New York, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of very poor people and like homeless people living in New York, and,
Yes.
and I mean, I guess if wealth disparity wasn't so bad, I don't even care now, but it would be less egregious looking. Like I don't know, imagine being someone in a very rough spot and looking at the Met Gala and just all this extravagance going on, and
Right.
how
Oh, yeah.
You'd
how
be
much
like-
Kim Kardashian's dress cost, which was that was a dress, right?
It's
That
called
was
the
something.
wet look.
I saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
looked
the
into
thing.
the guy.
Some of the outfits are fly.
Yeah,
Some
no,
of the, like, and again,
that was
there
something.
is
Yeah.
like art inspiration behind it.
It's
When I just say
definitely art.
it's trash, I'm really just cracking jokes. But like
yeah.
there's definitely are some, and like you can make a statement. Like you could even make a political statement,
could.
an activist statement.
You
But
could.
like you said, that just looks kind of crazy when there's like people begging for food. Like
The
three-
dude who got
3 blocks
carried in like that,
Yeah.
it was really
Insane.
cool, but it's also it's quite the
That's
metaphor.
That's iconic.
Yeah, it is
Like,
iconic.
That's iconic.
Did you see Lady Gaga's performance?
Yeah, she had like a
Yeah.
3-part costume or 3-part whatever.
Yeah, she had 4-part costume.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know. Michaela loves the Met.
I
Apparently.
I love it.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to think
I love
of.
performance.
Yeah, true. Because that's really what it is. It's performance.
It's performance.
Does somebody
performance
win?
art.
It is.
Just somebody win. Who won the
Wasn't
Met?
there a meme like from
I
two?
feel like Gaga won for performance, but when
Okay.
it comes to looks,
Yeah.
See, that's the
I don't
problem
really
with
know.
that. It's like hearsay. Well, not hearsay, but it's all like, what do you feel was the best
Yeah.
one? What do you feel? It's very opinionated about
Yeah.
like who actually had the best.
So do they just like do a catwalk and leave?
No, I think they go inside and have like a.
They
Do they
have
have-
like an
do they-
actual.
they have
Oh, it's like a
whole
ball
night.
kind of
yeah,
thing?
almost like a ball.
Okay.
Yeah, like a dance,
Yeah.
really. I guess you.
And
I want
they
to
have
sneak into that.
I'm sure there's
Yeah,
a
good
lot
luck.
of people.
wish you the
A lot of
best.
people doing cocaine, and also everyone has to bring a change of clothes.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like
of
you-
course.
No, you go to the after party and you have a second stylist, and then you have second dress or outfit.
Gee.
Right. Because you're not
And
wearing a
second
30
makeup
foot.
artist.
True.
Because you can't have two makeup
Same.
artists on one face because it's somebody else's artwork. So they have to do a whole
Wow.
look.
That is.
I feel like this is the
Huge thing.
lowest level of like weird party that happens though with rich people because everybody knows about it. Like,
Yeah, true.
wasn't
Yeah.
there that Bohemian Grove thing that Alex Jones
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
uncovered? There's one like real thing that he found out
Right.
where it was, I can't remember the details, but it was a bunch of rich politician people doing some
Yeah.
weird.
Wasn't there a meme from like a few years ago of Jason Derulo like falling down the stairs at the Met Gala? Like, and
Yeah.
it's a picture of him like
Yep.
tumbling down the
Yep.
steps,
Yep.
like in a really elaborate suit or something.
It's like never forget.
Yeah, like
Oh,
Like,
no.
Jason Derulo falling
Poor
down the
guy.
stairs at the Met Gala. It is funny though. It's just like you said, even from like if you like had a bird's eye view from just like a historical perspective.
Yeah,
it
it's just
it
an
is
interesting moment thing.
Yeah, it is, and we do it every year, and like it's not going away.
it's like-
but like when
Until
did
it does.
start? This wasn't always a thing.
No. it
That's
wasn't.
true.
I feel like this is like actually fairly recent of a thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's talk about some celeb outfits that were wild. Remember when Lady Gaga came out in the meat suit?
The meat suit.
The meat suit is
was that a
probably-
Met Gala thing?
No, that was just like
That was just her.
Lady Gaga
Okay.
being Lady
That was
Gaga,
like-
Okay.
when
she-
she originally
that was like-
came out.
She
Was that a
running to the
veganism
store for
statement?
kombucha.
I don't know, but if she ran through the wrong neighborhood, I feel like she'd be chased by dogs.
Yo, that
Yeah.
was
That's true.
wild. Imagine just the feeling of a raw meat suit on your skin. There had to have been something
you've
under
ever
that.
you've ever prepared meat before, and it's like you feel that texture everywhere.
Everywhere. I feel like that's like a commercial, like what it feels like to chew 5 gum.
Oh,
It's just dude in a meat suit,
That's terrible.
and the 5 gum flavor is like bacon.
My-
That's
What
some
I'm envisioning
anti-vegan
is-
clothing just made out of like just meat, like
Yeah.
unapologetically meat.
Oh my
I'm
God.
envisioning like what would you do for a Klondike bar, and then you see a guy walk around in a meat suit.
In a meat suit, just the ill meat T-shirt. Yo, that was a wild outfit. But like again, to Michaela's point, there was like artistry behind the meat suit. I'll make that argument.
Kanye West was the man of the people at the Met Gala this year.
What do you know?
Total
I
tangent,
know.
I
but
know.
he wore like the Dickies,
And just like
$40.
regular- I know. Like I read, he was just like, yeah, it ain't about me. It's about my wife.
Yeah, so he
I don't
didn't
want
even he
nobody-
didn't do it for a good reason, really. But
Right.
It's like, I don't want to be here.
He wasn't sympathizing with the poor.
yeah, no, he just wanted Kim to get more clout
Yeah.
from
What
the
about
whole.
Frank Ocean?
Frank
yeah.
I
Ocean.
love to call him the security guard.
Yeah, he-
Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked his. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was all that was the theme to be so exaggerated.
Right.
So I liked some of the laid back looks more.
I know. I agree.
But
But even
I
then, it's
couldn't
a
even.
form of making. It could be like he's taking such a crazy view on it
yeah,
because he's so simple and everything's exaggerated. So
Yeah.
you view it from that perspective.
Well, if you hear it from that perspective, it's not camp at that point.
No,
it's
but it
so
is.
camp that it's not camp.
Yeah,
you just
but
don't.
Then you
So
you get into that
open-ended.
cycle, and it's like, what is it then?
It's so camp that it's not camp.
But then
It's
it's,
whatever you're interpreting.
so not
it as.
camp that it's camp,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
but then
ridiculous.
it's so camp that it's not. You just
Yeah,
you start
exactly.
a cycle that like what is
Exactly.
fashion anymore?
Like,
I love it.
That's the
is
point.
Donald Trump camp
Genius.
It is. I like
as
it.
a human?
Is he what?
Is he camp?
His hair might be.
He is definition of camp.
Yeah,
He's the
exactly.
definition of camp. That's funny.
So you
What?
can be so camp that you're not camp, because Donald Trump's the president and
I always
he
wondered-
makes real decisions.
I always want. I know,
It
that
does
is
work
crazy.
both.
That is crazy. Imagine just. I understand he's the president, but just imagine taking him seriously as a personality.
Never.
Imagine.
I can't.
Imagine,
I
but a
can't.
lot of millions of Americans
I'm
do.
that orange. I cannot take seriously.
I know. Just like there's something so funny, regardless of your political affiliation, about someone holding on to a comb over far too long.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Like there's some like I don't care if you're a
No, there's like
staunch
plugs involved
conservative.
with that.
Are you sure it's not a wig?
There's
Well, maybe it's like a very well glued on wig.
there's
but
anesthesia
really
involved
cool
in that.
Yeah.
There's anesthesia involved in
Yeah.
that.
Size space.
There's surgery involved in
Uh,
that. But it is funny though that people take him seriously. But I mean, I feel like it's gonna be so funny to be like 80 and living in like Mad Max times because of climate change and being like, yo, we lived through that. Like people are gonna ask
Yeah.
us, people that aren't alive now who are born.
How could we be so dumb? Like they're gonna think,
Right.
how could we
Look
be
at
so
our
stupid that we
generation.
destroyed everything?
I know,
And I
it's
feel
crazy.
like things like that happen in a cycle almost. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Like
Well,
it's just. I remember
Some of the
It's had
people-
ice ages.
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
I remember
That's
it's
true.
so weird. I remember being like I must have been 10, right? And seeing clips of like 10, 11, seeing clips of like George W. Bush like saying things that were stupid. like saying like fool me once, shame on me.
Fool me twice, can't fool me again.
Yeah, I remember watching.
RJ Cole.
Yeah, I remember.
That's the only way I know it.
I remember actually seeing that though when like I was like 11 or 12 on the news and being like, this guy's dumb. Like even as like an 11-year-old, I honestly had that thought. I had no
My
idea.
dad
it
was
policy
such a Fox News viewer, like such an avid Fox News viewer. I didn't start realizing it until the Obama election. And like my dad was so mad about it, and Fox News was so mad about it. And I just remember not caring that much and like not
Right.
thinking it would be like this
That bad.
terrible event
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Even as like an 8th grader. I remember
It's crazy.
that was so crazy when Obama got elected. They brought us all into the cafeteria to watch it happen.
Yeah, let's talk about young political awareness because that's kind of where it started.
I feel like people get politically aware sooner now than we did.
Definitely,
Yeah, I can
definitely,
agree with that.
which is
yeah.
a good thing.
Do you remember
I would
Xbox
say.
Live in 2007 in an open chat room?
Remember being
Yes.
called an N-word on Uno many a time. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, it like, again, like I remember being so young, and I remember even being like 11 or 12 and being like, dude, there's no way we're gonna ever put somebody this dumb in there. And then like 2 days ago, Trump was like, yeah, Lincoln lost the Civil War, and you're like, oh my, which is honestly incredible. Like, I have a lot of problems with obviously the American political structure, but like, wow, we are an industrial juggernaut to like be able to elect somebody like that and not
Yeah.
completely collapse into like
Yeah,
Yeah.
something awful.
but that's,
Yeah, it just
but
proves how
that's-
strong our systems are.
And
no,
like we have
it
some bad
proves
systems.
how,
but-
like,
We do, but yeah, the
the
overall.
president is a figurehead.
True, that's
Yeah.
really what it speaks to.
Yeah, it speaks to the actual lack of power that the president has. Like the
Mhm.
president has enough power to say that people want to run for that office, but not enough power
100%.
to actually do anything.
Yeah.
Well, they
Well,
can
I don't
do
know.
things.
I feel like, and presidents have like more power in some ways than they have in the past.
100%.
Well, yeah.
In some ways, less. I remember. I feel like who is it? Like FDR used the most vetoes any president has ever. Like he'd be shutting stuff down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's different.
Yeah, I've been thinking the other day, like, should we get rid of? Would you guys be in favor of getting rid of term limits?
Presidents.
Yes.
Well,
Like,
I
if
don't
we
know.
kept voting them in, why limit somebody to 2
so
terms?
You're,
Could
There's
get
a bunch. There's a million problems with our with our political structure.
yes.
But that was
Yeah.
just something specific.
It's
Like,
just trade off. I think that there would be positives to that and negatives as well.
Yeah.
yeah, like, and I was
Because like a really good person could do a lot of like amazing stuff, but then I don't know what happens in the future.
I
It's
was-
just like a
I
kind
was
of a
thinking
slippery
of
slope,
it-
I guess.
maybe if it is a slippery slope. Maybe if I describe the context in which I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, because I was reading about the recent United States foreign policy like increases in tension with Iran. How we're like deploying aircraft carriers outside of Tehran and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
And like then reading back about like the nuclear deal that we had with them, and like thinking that like, okay, so like a president comes in, right, and establishes a nuclear deal with them, right, and according to like the nuclear agency in charge of checking to make sure Iran was in compliance with that deal, they were for the entirety of that process, and then the Trump administration obviously tore up that deal, and I feel like that's partly the reason why they can't get any type of arms treaty with North Korea, because
We can't be trusted.
we've proven that we
in
can't
way,
be
and-
trusted with a nuclear deal to get you to agree.
Mhm.
But, like I was thinking, like, damn, like, wouldn't so now obviously we tear up that Iran deal, and now we start escalating military tensions with them, right? And again, even pulling out of the nuclear deal that we did, like, crippled their economy. It
Yep.
had, you could make the argument, literally killed people. People stopped getting medicine
Yeah, I'm
and,
sure.
and
Yeah.
essential things they needed to survive. So, like, I was thinking, like, if we had a president that we liked, and I'm not saying or implying that Obama was a president that we liked or was even good for that matter in this specific argument, but like, wouldn't the continuity of a president, like if Obama could have ran for a third term and then could have won and then could have kept the Iran nuclear deal, and then
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
is because we have the continuity, you could actually build a rapport with other world leaders over long periods of time.
Okay. Yeah, but even in that example, I see what you're going for. But
Right, like-
even in that example, I would argue like Obama was not that great of a
100%,
president. So if
100%.
him getting like infinite terms would be
100%.
it would not be
100%.
what is needed.
But my argument is that he wouldn't.
He wouldn't. Yeah, he would.
He wouldn't win unlimited terms. Like he might have won 3
But you don't think you think he
or
would
4, but
voted out,
eventually,
yeah. He would get voted
after
out.
3 years of him, Democrats would have probably voted him out in favor of somebody like Bernie or somebody further to the left or somebody further to the center.
Yeah,
In
I
all
think
likelihood,
one
but
of the
still.
problems is that so the longer you're in power, and if you know this is the way that the system works, and it's every 4 years, you can like each time you get reelected, you can further ingrain
Yeah.
yourself within the system, make
True.
yourself more important, make it so like
True.
the elected, because the president picks judges, the president picks all these kinds of things. So that's one of the things that's bad about Trump is that he's just gonna, no matter what he actually gets done, he's going to fill the courts with these very conservative judges, and that
Very
was
likely.
set that are going to serve live, like you're in there for life if
Yeah,
you're
true.
a judge. So it's going to be we're going to have very conservative rulings, like that abortion
it's like
bill
6
in
weeks.
Georgia.
Yeah, 6 week.
Yeah,
something.
and I think there's a provision in it that if you go to if you're from Georgia and you go to another state to get an abortion, you
like
can
10
be
years.
convicted for murder or whatever, conspiracy.
10 years.
But yeah, no, I see where you're coming from with it,
Right.
and I get
And I'm
what-
not saying
I get
it's a
what
good
both of
idea.
you
I'm
are
just
saying.
floating it out so we can discuss
Oh
it.
yeah, no, no,
Mhm.
totally. But the problem with it is, and I agree with Josiah in a lot of the ways that he said. With the longer you're in there, the more your ideals become the full ideal.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, your idea would work if you could trust the system.
Fair.
If
You need an AI monitoring it to make it to be completely impartial.
But that's the thing. There's so much corruption involved in government as a whole,
Yeah.
and no one can deny that. bit,
Right,
Mhm.
right.
That tell me there wouldn't be somebody who is smart enough to be able to practically cement their position as president throughout their life because of the corruption that they've
Right.
put into the
This is
system.
really making me want to go home and read for like 3 hours about the president of China.
Mhm.
Because like he was elected for like life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
clearly the Chinese people or Chinese government must
yeah.
see it the way I proposed
Well,
it.
it's a different system, and like I said, there are pluses and minuses. Like they
Right.
could not turn back, but they could like very quickly make changes to their climate system to like to those kind of aspects. Whether or not they will is up to them, but they can do it. But in the U.S. It's a lot harder to get through these like mandates and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's almost like the system is great because it makes it so hard to get stuff done, but at the same time, it's awful when you have to do anything quickly. So it
Right.
feels like what you need is somebody to
Right.
come in and just quickly like push all this stuff through.
100%.
But it's like that's like one of those moments that it's like
It does feel like that, but it feels like that. Like we need somebody to get in there and push through some like all these policies like immediately.
Mhm.
And I think we feel that way as Americans because we seem like we're always writing policy like in response, right?
yeah, and that's one of those things that once it happens, you can't take it back. Like once that, if
Yeah.
somebody were to get in and push a bunch of policies through, I feel like that does fundamental damage to the
Yeah.
system itself. So
Because it didn't follow the path that it's
yeah,
supposed to.
exactly. But what if those changes are necessary to save the system
Right,
at
or
all?
we're net
So
positives.
it's interesting,
But
and
the
I think
pro-
that's up to a very talented individual to make happen at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
Whether or not it'll even happen is
we're
anybody's
just
guess.
pure speculating. We're just
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It's
think
interesting.
Donald Trump might do it, guys.
Wow. Well, are we? Do you? We're good on time. Do we? Are you? Who are you? Are you betting? Are you betting against
Trump.
Trump in 2020? Like, what are his
Oof.
chances?
If the Democrats put Biden in, it's a done deal. Trump's reelected.
I know it's
It's
so,
a done
it's so
deal.
obvious.
If Biden gets in, it's
so
over.
It's so
It's
obvious.
over.
It's so obvious.
I could,
So obvious to me.
could you bring yourself to vote for Biden after all he said? I mean,
No.
people would yell at us right now, like, Trump said so much worse stuff. Blah, blah,
But it's
blah,
not
blah."
about
I would
that.
sooner vote for Jill Stein again or something.
Yeah.
Somebody who has no chance at all.
Like Biden in the 60s.
Biden is awful. He didn't want segregation to stop.
Biden literally would have been sitting in the diner drinking a milkshake while I was getting hosed and barked at by German shepherds outside, and be like, "Wow, it's a shame what's happening to those black people outside." Like that, I feel like is.
They should really just
was-
learn their place.
Yeah, that's Joe Biden in like the 60s.
And then he's like against everything as it's coming up. He didn't want gay marriage, none of that. He plagiarized his first when he ran for president back in the 80s. He plagiarized a speech from the UK Prime Minister that ran like that year. Like the
Like,
same.
dude.
That
Yeah.
sounds great. Use it.
Yeah.
It's just, and like again, like these people don't learn. People in Washington, people in like establishment media in Washington do not learn anything from anything.
I don't believe the polls. I really don't think Biden will get in because
No,
the
probably
place
not.
that like CBS or whatever is polling CBS is it's gonna be like over 40 Democrats
Yeah.
who are known
Yeah.
for voting.
Well,
Like,
whenever they pull a poll, they specifically go after the ones that they know are going to go for the person that they want to go. Again, corruption in the system. It's
Yeah.
just
And it's
how
just-
it is.
yeah.
How are like all right? How are the political strategists in DC not seeing that like Biden offers people nothing? Like Biden offers people nothing from a policy perspective even. Like I'm not even saying just as a like his shtick. Let's say he wins the Democratic primary and like is debating against Trump. Like he's not.
He's gonna
advocating-
fight
That's
him.
gonna
He's
be-
gonna like.
He's not. He's not advocating for Medicare for all. He's not.
Yeah,
advocating.
it's gonna
for
be
any,
ad hominem at each other. That's
it's-
all it will
It's
be.
gonna be like this guy's an and like
They
people
practically
don't
have the
care.
same positions probably on a lot of stuff, on more
Literally,
than they want to
like-
realize.
Like Joe, let me look at the camera when I say this. Joe Biden policy for policy is much closer to Trump than he is Bernie Sanders or anybody to the left of that.
Yeah.
I think like
Yeah, no,
like,
I think that's true.
like you know what I would say, I would venture to say that like Joe Biden at a policy level literally agrees with like Ted Cruz like 90% of the time. Like
Okay. Are you comfortable
essentially
ranking who you'd vote for? Like your number one pick, your number two
yeah,
pick?
from the Democratic Party right now.
Yeah.
Are we talking about who I would want as president, or are we talking about who I would prefer to win the Democratic primary?
It's the same thing, hopefully.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe.
I guess.
Maybe.
I guess if we're just talking the Democratic primary, it would be probably Bernie number one. I think he has by far the best chance to beat Donald Trump in
Okay.
an election.
We agree
And
there.
His policies
Yeah.
are
No, we're all on the same page.
mostly I agree with. And then I would
I'm
say
going to agree with all the policies.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would
it's
say
hard to do.
I would say Bernie number one. I would say, and then honestly 2 and 3 is like a tie between Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay. We disagree
those
there.
are
Mine would be
big
my
things up
two would honestly be Elizabeth Warren.
Mm.
Because I feel like she advocates for a lot of the same kind of positions as Bernie, and in some ways she has more concrete positions than Bernie, and a lot of people
I
really
agree, actually,
push
with that.
for Elizabeth Warren because of that. But I just feel like Elizabeth Warren does not inspire people in the way that
100%.
Bernie does.
100%.
Yeah.
And
No,
people
I
don't want to
agree.
admit that. Like, people try to say that you're sexist or something because you don't want Elizabeth.
No, but
She's
it's-
definitely my second pick, and Bernie's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first. But it's just because he gets these crazy crowds. Like, he can make you feel like, oh, we can do it. And
He,
we
like,
need
really
that kind of a person in
instill
there.
hope.
Yeah.
To
Yes.
like
And
to
no-
a
I don't
wide
know.
swath of people.
I don't know. It's hard to judge, like, what it is about a person that makes them have that kind of an attribute.
Yeah.
Like, why Bernie has that and Elizabeth Warren doesn't as much.
It's interesting to think about because when I think about this question, I low key envision them like on a debate stage, like arguing back and forth.
Maybe it's that Bernie is better at rhetoric, which is like what you're actually saying to the people. You don't like
Yeah, I
like
don't-
facts don't win arguments. Rhetoric does.
I don't
That's
know
how Ben
why.
Shapiro can win an argument.
No, yeah, he only thinks he.
He only thinks in rhetoric. He doesn't think in facts.
I don't know why, but and I know people are going to disagree with me when I say this, but Elizabeth Warren, for some reason, to me, I have no backing on this, whatever, or no reasons for it, just gives off a bad vibe.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's a personal opinion. no
Personal
question.
opinion.
Yeah.
I've seen her give speeches, things like that. I don't know.
I think she,
can't get behind
for
it.
some
Even
reason,
if I
kind of comes
believe
off
it.
as ingenuine.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's.
And I don't know. I don't think it's her fault. It might just
It's
be like a
probably not.
speech pattern, maybe, or like some
Yeah.
subtle unconscious thing.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
think
it
it's-
is exactly.
I think it's part of the. She's
She makes me think of Lisa Simpson.
kind of. She's like still to me. She comes off as the politician who would do like the pandering to the millennials in a cheesy way.
Yeah, but she's really fought against like big business.
Oh,
Before.
no question.
She's
I'm just saying,
definitely
she
one of
might-
the few that's come up to the plate in that regard.
to me, she seems as the person who would skateboard onto stage and then fight for those
Oof.
positions.
I think that I think that
can
one of
kinda
her
see
big
that,
problems
yeah.
is that I feel like she's the kind of person who would do things for what she perceives as like political gain, like endorse Hillary instead of Bernie,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Instead of actually
Exactly.
standing by exactly.
Like, because if she
what
was
she
standing,
believes in,
if she was
exactly,
standing
yeah.
by what she believed in, she probably would have endorsed Bernie, right?
100%.
I feel
But
like
she-
and
but she
Bernie
went with
lost
one-
Massachusetts to Hillary
And yeah, and I
Yeah.
guess
by a
part of
slim
that,
margin.
Part of that's not directly Elizabeth Warren's fault.
I don't know how slim the
100%.
margin was. Can't
That's
say.
like part of the problems of the Democratic Party. Like her capitulating is like a product of
The way the Democratic
the
Party.
way the party's
You could
structured
even
more than it
say
is
that in a way,
her
Bernie
doing it.
is capitulating by not making a new party called like the Democratic
100%,
Socialists, because like
100%.
the Democratic Party sucks.
100%. 100%. Democratic Party does suck so bad, dude.
Ugh, they need to change their names. Names have changed in the past. Like political views have flipped. There's like Whig parties in the past.
Yo, you know what's
stuff like that.
crazy? Is like I literally was talking to my coworker about this, and he's a pretty staunch Christian, would lean conservative, I'd say, and like it was
Mm-hmm. Is this
so
the libertarian?
no, it's a different guy. But he was explaining to me like, oh yeah, like he was like, I just align Republican. I just feel like I agree with more of their policies. We were talking about politics, and he was like he said something of like, oh yeah, like I just feel like for example, I'm pro-life, so like I just feel like I just should go to the right if that's something I strongly believe in. And of course, he's religious and like he's entitled to that belief. But I'm just telling him, dude, I'm like, dude, you know what's crazy is like you feel that way, but like the Republicans used to be the pro-choice party.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10 to 12 years ago, the Republican stance was the government doesn't have a say. Like, isn't that the true conservative, the true Republican?
I don't know if that's the true
smaller
conservative.
government stance. Like
That's like a libertarian position, but I don't know how many.
Republicans actually.
I think
subscribe to
conservative is like
Maybe you're right.
conservative in the U.S. is a very particular category.
I think if you looked
that
at polls-
believes in like family stuff, and they don't. I don't even necessarily think they believe in small government. They just believe in like a big military and less taxes for.
that. And continued imperialism.
Yeah,
But like, if you don't think if you looked at polls from like 2006 to like 2018 about like should the government control, should it be, if you pose the abortion question, I think those numbers would be drastically different.
what do you mean?
Like support for
Support by conservatives for
yes,
it, and
yes
yeah.
would have changed drastically over the past.
Nah, dude. Religious
12
conservatives, Christian conservatives will always be against that.
Maybe I just feel like Christian conservatives are a smaller percentage of the party than they actually are.
Nah, dude. I think they've always been powerful, and then they lost power for a little while, and now they're gaining power because you can tell because of that
Really?
bill that got passed in Georgia. That anti-abortion
Yeah.
bill is like the harshest bill in the
Yeah,
country, and
true.
it passed in 2019
Yeah, that's true.
because of Republican politicians.
Yeah, no, we could. I constantly find myself holding back swears sometimes on the show.
Yeah.
Because of the Fruit Loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, this turned into a wild political episode out of
It
nowhere.
really did.
Let's
This
fin-
whole thing has been political.
Yeah, you're
No,
right.
no, we started with
Every single
fashion
thing.
at the beginning.
Yeah, we started
and
with
then
fashion.
Right.
And then it
It's
straight
great.
turned into a political.
Yeah, we didn't mean to do that. Sorry if we offended you. They're just opinions.
Let's
and
go there. Yay.
yeah, and
Is
we're
there
just
any,
we're just talking. I think we
Anything
should
funny
end-
that happened?
Well, we can definitely talk about something funny. And I think we can, and I think we should, and I think we should end it with Game of Thrones jokes.
Oh, spoiler.
Yeah!
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
spoiler warning.
We're
Oh, wait,
not
wait,
going to
wait.
talk about like our politics. Let's talk about a show's politics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
exactly.
excited.
Exactly.
Okay,
So Starbucks
Noah should put a
be on the
spoiler
other
warning
front.
on
Yeah,
this.
spoiler warning.
like
Ooh,
all
we
over
should
this.
just put
Wait, where are we at? Where are we at?
Coffee cup
This
and
is-
pretend it's a Starbucks.
we're at episode 5 is gonna be on this upcoming. So we haven't
Yep.
seen episode 5 yet.
So we
Okay.
have seen up to episode 4.
Yes, of
Okay.
season 8.
Do you watch Game
Right.
of Thrones?
Yes. I love Game of
Do
Thrones.
we all watch Game of Thrones in this room?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do. I think
How
we
come
all
we've
watch it.
never?
Had the conversation?
Wow.
Because we just have so many things to talk
There's
about.
a lot to talk about.
Yes,
Amazing.
so many things to talk
Amazing.
about. So let's get. So the last thing we saw, spoiler alert, boom, you had your chance.
You had your chance to run.
So the last thing, the very last thing we saw is Missandei dying, right?
Big sad.
Decapitated.
Smoked.
Big.
Oh yeah,
Big sad. That was a tragic moment. So like,
But I like the nice touch that they did where, like, you saw her blurred in the background and the blood pool actually grew. It wasn't just like a corpse on the ground over there. It actually had some life to the background.
y'all got CGI for that, but y'all ain't got CGI for Jon Snow to pet Ghost on the way out.
Okay, so just to clarify, has anyone else read the books?
No.
Okay, I'm the only, so
Okay.
I won't get stuck up
Okay.
about the books. But
Well,
it's
they haven't even
awful.
gotten that far in the
It's
books, have
awful.
they?
It's
I
awful
was
what they've
gonna-
done to the show. It is awful
I
what
was
they've
gonna-
done to the
I
show
was
compared
gonna-
to the books.
I was gonna
Oh
pose
my
the question, if
god.
we're
Well, if he
gonna-
wrote the books faster. it
I
would've been
know.
fine.
I know.
He took
slowed down too much.
forever.
I think it's going to help the book sales because people are going to be like, no, I do not accept what has happened in the
Yes,
show.
they're gonna do that.
We should pose the question as like, how do you feel about season 8 so far? Is their last season?
Really?
It's
Fart
a
noise.
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I think
Really?
that I think that it's like he's going to. I feel like they're making. Okay, so.
What's your core issue?
I can get to a lot of issues
Don't
with
go
it.
too many tangents about it. Give me like the one solid thing that's causing you to just about it.
I feel like characters. Okay, so like in a show, a book, anything, any piece of media that's like this, a piece of fiction,
Yep.
you set up rules. There's like parameters
Yep.
that this world exists within,
Right.
and like you don't betray those rules. Characters don't go outside what they would do unless like changed via the story mechanisms.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's like these things like there are parameters built.
Okay.
So Game of Thrones up to this point, like there's so many scenes where I'm gonna get into a particular to display
Go.
this.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
go.
so there's so many scenes where it's like all these people talking about the Iron Fleet, how they're so dangerous. Tyrion's constantly warning her. You can't when they first go across the ocean from the east. I can't even remember what the continents are called anymore. But when they come across to Westeros for the first time. Tyrion's like, you got to watch out for the fleet. They might take. You can't just be flying out there with your dragons. You can't just. He even says you can't just fly up to whatever because they'll probably take out your dragons or whatever.
Right.
So that's something that they know, and then she just flies her dragons out into the sea, and you can tell by the way that they cut it. It's like they don't even go that far. It's open ocean, and then the thing comes, it kills the dragon or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's just. It makes no sense logically why they would do that because first of all, how do you not see the dragons? Oh, they're hiding behind rocks. Aren't you scouting? Why aren't you worried about this? How is this not on your mind that there's this huge fleet
And the
that
writer
is-
said-
Going towards war, so let's.
There's a
just
particular
constantly
scene.
Fly through the sky.
where Grey Worm, is that his name? What's the
Yeah.
name?
Grey Worm's in there.
Yeah, Grey Worm, the soldier dude.
Yep.
He's looking out. This is when they invade Casterly Rock or
Casterly
whatever,
Rock, yeah.
and they take it over, and there's like nobody there. There was
Yeah.
only, and then there's a scene of him looking out onto the Iron Fleet, and it's just hundreds of ships completely destroyed their entire fleet.
Yeah.
But but Danny just forgot about it.
Oh, yeah,
It's lazy writing,
Yes,
and I
it
think
is.
that is
It
what
is.
is making the season so incredibly disappointing to me.
Yeah.
And it's just, and since I read the books, it's even worse because it's like the show's always been different, and I've kind of accepted that. But it's just, oh my
And that
God.
that specific scene you're mentioning is honestly maybe the worst scene in Game of Thrones history. in my
And the way they kill the dragon, like it's so sad looking, and it's like such like I don't care that they kill a dragon, and it is like super sad when they do it, but it just feels worthless. It feels like you threw that dragon away for nothing. I thought you loved this
Yes.
thing, and it was your son or whatever, and that is your fault that it died for no reason.
Yeah.
It-
Kill off the right characters.
kill off the rape characters when they should be killed off.
Yes.
I can't imagine George R. R. Martin in the book is going to have all those characters in Winterfell and have none of them die. Either he won't have them there at all, or there's going to be more people getting got. Because
Right, yeah.
that didn't make sense. That was a betrayal of the show as well.
Right.
I'm
right.
also confused because, so the massive battle between the living and the dead happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw the dead flow into the city, and you saw key people alive fighting.
Mm-hmm. That was my favorite episode. I think that was probably one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones, even though
I thought it was a great episode.
some problems.
My problem was the simple fact that when they went back to the war room after that was done, they only said they lost half their troops.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
the hell were the other half of the troops?
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
They literally stormed in and were in the library just wandering around. Where were the other troops that supposedly lived?
Let me put my HBO head on. Now I think I'm not gonna lie, right? I think there's obviously been some major storytelling flaws and poor writing in this last season.
And poor continuity.
Of course.
People are apparently are
course.
rewatching these enough times.
Of course. But like if I had my HBO head on, right? Like everyone's expectations are probably too high. Like
They
we
should have just done 2
expect-
more seasons, dude.
Right. They should have done more seasons, sure.
At least 2 more, because
Like-
there's going to be 2 more books. That
100%.
Battle of Winterfell is going to be
gonna be
the end of the next book, guaranteed, because
Yeah,
it's such a
exactly.
pivotal moment.
Exactly.
That could have been a crazy end to a season.
It
Right.
could have been.
And HBO would make more money.
I know, but I get it though.
Well,
They-
it depends. It's like you realize how famous that some of these actors
Exactly.
are getting.
Yeah.
The cost per season.
Yeah, is
has
going
risen
up. Is going up. Good point.
exponentially since
Good
the
point.
Yeah,
beginning.
true. And like so many people are like watching this shit illegally and like not
Yeah.
paying for
Their
HBO
profit margin
subscriptions.
has literally been getting smaller and smaller every season.
Right.
Okay, fair
and like
enough.
again, like for that exact reason that because the actors are getting so famous, like they're definitely asking for more money because they want to do other roles and
Right.
like stop. So like the show has to end eventually, right? So
I
like
just think 2 more seasons.
See, that's the addict in you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know, right?
y'all got any more?
Well, I can
y'all got
just
any more of those
I can just
seasons
wait for
laying
the
around or
books.
something?
Yeah.
I just think if they wanted to make a, I don't know, it's fine. There are
Like-
plenty of movies that are way worse adaptations. Like it's
Yeah.
it's
Like let's just
pretty
say this
worthwhile.
right now. We are all gonna be pissed off in the next 2 episodes.
Oh yeah.
They are
There's no way
100%
that they
gonna be
end this
trash.
Well.
And yeah, there's
no way.
They're just
this
gonna get
ends
worse.
well.
Like everything I've seen is just
Probably. Or they're gonna like. I want to believe that they might be this intelligent.
yes.
They completely fooled us for these
Wow.
episodes, and then they just completely kill it the next 2, and we're like, that makes
That
so
would
much
be
sense.
Amazing.
But I don't know if that's.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
But
Because-
the problem with that is it ending well. It's the. I want you to think about this. It is the Game of Thrones.
Mm.
The Game of Thrones never ends unless there is no longer someone to sit in it.
Well, let's say this because we're talking about how good
Yeah.
is it going to be, how bad is it going to be. What would be your ideal ending? Who does sit on the throne? How do they end it? And you're like, wow, they did it right. Like, how would at this point?
It's not even-
It's so hard at this point. It's
I
so
think
hard
that,
at this point. I don't know.
because of some of the things I've mentioned before, like because of mistakes they've made already, I don't think that
It's possible.
it's possible to get that perfect. It's
agree.
about the overall experience. It's not like there's a particular ending that I would appreciate more. I honestly don't care what the ending is. I don't care who it is. It's a build up to the ending and getting there and like the payoff of watching it and like seeing it through to the end.
Yeah.
There are plenty of ways that it can be disappointing, but all of them are just because of like poor writing and timing. Like the way that the Night King died and how it was so sudden, I have no problem with Arya killing him or anything like that.
Right.
But I think that the whole show is like the first scene opens up with this. It's built up to be such a big thing, and then it just ends so quickly that I feel like it doesn't feel as
Good.
hard hitting as it probably
Yeah.
will in the book.
I think.
Yeah, true.
But
really, it's
that's what you get for reading a
because
book.
We well, the thing is, I think we killed off the big bad halfway through the season, which I get. We need to deal with the White Walkers, and then we need to deal with Cersei.
Mhm.
I get that, but it's like there's been seasons upon seasons building up to this one particular moment, and it wasn't the climactic end.
Mm.
And I feel like that's why anything past
And
this is gonna be
everything,
not as
the
satisfying.
next episode really made me mad, the one after that, because it's like they're drinking like everything's fine. Nobody's laid up. Nobody's so messed up that they everybody's partying after.
Yeah.
Like they're all
Yeah, like
they're
all
all
the
good
clear
enough to
lines
Yeah.
No one's like shaking
Nobody has
in a
PTSD,
ball,
yeah.
like, oh my god, I watched Leanna Mormont get squished like a bug.
It seemed like
kinda
pure
wanna drink.
fan service to me.
100%,
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess is what it should be about. Like, how much can you complain about the realism of a show with dragons? That's what
I
people
guess
always
so.
tell me, and I'm like,
I
you
guess so.
shut up.
Yeah, no.
I think when you look at Game of Thrones, it's supposed to be about being human. Like,
Okay,
there's
I like that.
There's consequences for your actions. I think that's what
Mm.
we've seen in the past, but now there's
Now it doesn't feel like
not-
it. Now it feels
they
like a
don't seem
fantasy.
Human, yeah.
Yeah.
They seem more like where there's a lot of things left out about them being human.
I would have rather Danny's dragon got eaten by the zombies than shot by the.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
100. Dude, let's talk about
That would have
scene.
been a way better
Just-
way to kill off. It would have been super sad.
That's-
It would have
super
been
sad.
It would have been meaningful.
Right.
It still would have been her up, but it would have been. It would have
It would
been.
have been her messing up because she landed there and then just stood there and let them
Dumb.
come at it.
Yeah.
But like,
It
was
would have been
leading
more-
up to that. And
There was
that
a build.
would have been
It
great.
was It was like the opposite of a Deus Ex Machina when they killed that dragon. It came out of nowhere for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But if the zombies killed the dragon,
Mhm.
then we would have cared more about them going to Cersei.
Yeah,
Because
it would have
she
been
would've
way
had to weigh her
cooler.
options more.
Right. Everyone at
would
Winterfell
have
should have
been-
got smoked.
Way cooler.
See, the thing is,
Yeah,
the
I agree.
ending-
And then Arya kills him, and then it's like they're like, oh, but everyone's dead. Like so
Right.
many people are dead
Right.
now. But
And-
instead, it's like, dude,
I honestly would have. Honestly, now that I think about it, I think I would have. Maybe the best way they could have done it was to again have everyone die at Winterfell. Everybody,
Oh.
everyone.
and then have us rooting for Cersei
Oh, to beat the. That's
That
an
would have been
interesting.
a
Night
hell of a
King.
twist.
instead. And
But
real quick
but
about
you know what would have been great is if the Night King made Jon a Night King.
that would also
That,
been dope.
that's just like the evil ending of Game
Yeah.
of
But
Thrones.
that's the thing. It's like I feel like based off of how Game of Thrones has been throughout its season, the
Yeah.
only true Game of Thrones ending would have been if the White Walkers won.
Just one.
If the White Walkers just straight up won.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be
What
great.
if
Well-
they wanted to get to Bran? Like, this is crazy. Like, never happened. But he wanted to get to him to kill him so he could get his life back. And then all the dead were living again, and all the living in that moment died.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Damn,
it's like,
like a
reverse
swap.
life,
Oh, that
Yeah.
would have been twisted.
and then you would have a new person on the throne
Right,
Mhm.
right, right.
going to Cersei, and she wouldn't have expected it.
Right. That also could have been dope. Also could
Yeah,
have been dope.
really crazy. Sorry.
No, I get it though. Another thing that really bothers me about the dragon scene, because
Mm-hmm.
again, just the absolute randomness of it.
It was
How?
nowhere.
Let's just.
It was so stupid.
It was so
so dumb.
stupid. Outside of the like the whole how do you not see them as a scout? Like outside of that,
I did not
let's
see them from that high.
how
Let's go to this rock.
how do you snipe the first 4 shots? No misses. Danny
They've been-
proceeds to fly straight at the ships, and they miss the next 30.
How have you not made? They know that these catapults exist. How have you not made dragon
Also-
armor yet?
Yeah, why
Well,
didn't
how have you
better
not-
strategy of war? Why didn't you have them catapult, like the dragon would light up
Also,
the fire and then throw it at them before the Dothraki went in?
Because it wouldn't look as cool.
yeah, true.
They're
I
doing
saw
things
it.
purely
Like,
for like
the-
TV
yeah.
now.
Also,
Because the fact that like all of those flames went through and then diminished. They just all
Yeah.
disappeared. It was
Yeah.
a very
It was like a
powerful
visual
visual
statement.
scene, and that's why they did it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Boo.
it was a really
The fact
cool
is
scene
they're
visually.
They're flying for that like scene that you hate. They're flying towards the capital of the Dragon Killers, Like,
And
that's what that
they're
city was
in the
built
front
upon.
of the fleet.
and also even the locations of the harpoons on the boats, like they're in front. They're on the front of the boats. In order to stop this whole fleet, you just need to get behind them because they can't shoot through the mast.
Yeah.
So like this is just even more stupid. The more and more we think about how this dragon died, and that's another thing you were giving your and that if we read between the lines, everyone involved in the show is prepping us for it to be absolute trash. You see interviews with people like they asked Benny Hoff and DB Wives where they were going to be when the finale aired, and they said like drunk and far away from a TV. Like they're like there's like clips of interviews. Like there was a clip on like Entertainment Tonight of somebody interviewing Kit Harington and like maybe it was edited to be short, but I saw it on Twitter and it was just like somebody asking like, oh, like how would you describe the series finale of Game of Thrones? And he literally says disappointing.
Let you go without asking you a little question about Game of Thrones.
Sure.
If you could describe the season finale of Game of Thrones in one word, how would you describe it?
Disappointing.
Disappointing.
No, epic. I don't know.
Epic.
One of those ones.
And then this clip ends, so he went on to say like disappointing. I don't get to hang out with my friends and like
Yeah,
make
yeah.
a great show.
Right.
But it sounded. And then there was another clip where it was like the actual actors and actresses of like Grey Worm, Missandei, and Dany on like a red carpet, and basically the same question was asked to them, and there was just like a look on Dany's face that was just like,
Y'all ain't gonna like it.
It's great.
Have you shot your final scenes yet? And are you happy with how things ended? Yes. She didn't say yes.
Y'all ain't gonna like it.
Yeah, 100%.
Ugh.
How about this hot take? We'll end on Game of Thrones. You guys can agree or disagree. Game of Thrones has always... Let me take this back. Game of Thrones, the writing has never been the strong suit of Game of Thrones. It's always been the acting performances. And
Okay.
that's what's carried the show this long.
I don't know.
That's what brought the show to where it is, was performances, not necessarily the writing. Writing's good most of the time. But there was holes earlier in the writing before season 8.
I think that there are particular points where the writing shines. And even like in the early seasons, some of the stuff that they wrote that George R.R. didn't. Like all the stuff between Arya and... Think about what an S tier person Tywin is. He was such a good character.
Yeah, he was.
Imagine if he was still alive, like the show would be so different.
So different. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's definitely good writing, but I guess the performances do carry it, especially now. No, it's
Especially now.
definitely
Especially now.
Me personally, I think it's 50-50. I think the writing has been in situations, and it's been great in other situations.
Same thing with the acting, would you say?
Same thing with the acting. I think,
Yeah.
but I don't mean like each individual person. I mean actors as a whole. But you can't have all A-class, S-class actors for the entire cast of Game of Thrones because of how many people are actually there.
Do you guys think that they cut away from every conversation that looks interesting now?
Honestly.
Yes.
Honestly.
Every
Yes.
single time I'm like, okay, I'm ready to hear this. They're like,
Right.
like Bran talking to Tyrion, or
Yes.
Tyrion talking to Sansa,
or-
or
yeah.
John,
Or Jon telling
Bran,
Sansa-
Bran explaining
Yes,
it to them.
Sansa and
Yes.
Arya, like who he actually is. And you're like, oh, it's about to get good.
They've
Boom.
And
cut
they
out
cut
of
away
every
Yeah,
conversation that I want to
didn't
hear.
even think of that, but yeah, you're right.
Let's be honest. Game of Thrones has been trash ever since they gave Ed Sheeran a cameo. Bang. That's my hot
That's it.
take of the day.
That's it. We're ending it on that.
That was when we knew they were sellouts who were just
Yeah.
there for the cash grab.
I
That's
agree.
such a hot take, but whatever. We all agree. This is another wonderful, wide-ranging podcast of the triple
Politics.
of the, politics, the Met Gala, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. That was this one.
It's all wild. We'll be back as always. Shout out to everyone at WCTV behind the cameras, making it happen. Namely Michaela. So yeah, thanks. Shout out. Peace.